Hey folks, Frank the PestGeek here. I wanted to discuss with you the top three sales practices that every technician must master if he's going to be a successful technician. Notice I didn't say a successful salesperson. These are sales strategies that if you implement them, it's going to make you way more successful with your clients. And I want you to think of sales in a different light, in a different mentality, because when anyone thinks of sales, they think of the sleazy sales guy, the pushy guy, the guy that's selling you what you don't want, the guy that's always just calling to sell you something. Um, Everyone is in sales. Everyone, whether you realize it or not, you're in sales, and not everybody is in the same level or at the same process or has the same DNA, but everyone is in sales. I want you to think about this for a moment. When you apply for a job, you're in sales because you're trying to convince that boss, that person interviewing you, that you are the best person for the job. You're in sales. You're going in, you're putting your best foot forward, you're trying to say all the right things. Think about that for a minute. How many of you have actually extended the truth just a little bit on your resume to look good to a prospective hire because you needed the job? Salespeople lie all the time. Everyone lies at some point or another, or at least stretches the truth just a little bit. But if you're looking for a job, you're in sales. You're trying to convince people that you're the best hire. You're competing with everybody else that is applying for the job, and you're selling yourself and your qualifications and your accomplishments and your degrees and whatever it is that could help you land that job. I want you to think about that chronologically. The things you've accomplished, what you know how to do, what you're an expert at, your education. You should be selling those points to your client. When you walk into that home for the first time as a technician, what certifications have you gotten? What training did you get? I've been, trained to do this, and this. I'm going to do my best for you today to try to identify these problems and try to solve them for you the best way I can, the most efficient way. But not everyone enjoys that process of job hunting and being a hunter. Some people rather be gatherers. And there's two types, and anywhere in between a gatherer and a hunter, you're somewhere in that spectrum in between. Some of you are 3 or 4 on the gatherer side with a little bit of fishing maybe, but you really don't enjoy going after prey all day long. So it's going to depend what you're comfortable with in your DNA of how good of a salesperson can you be. And honestly, I'm not talking about sales and selling products. We're going to get to that. But I'm talking about the fact that you're going to have to sell yourself. You're trying to convince people all the time. Think about this. You're at work and you're trying to convince your boss to buy a new tool or buy a new product or a new technique, and you're trying to convince him to implement this. You're in sales. You're saying, we should be using that new Samari because I was in a group and everybody's talking about it and how this could save you money and less callbacks and better ant control. You're in sales. You're trying to sell the idea. Your kids are expert salespeople. They keep asking you and asking you and asking you and nagging you to the point that you just give up and you give in and you give them what they want. There's an old saying, how do you get rid of a salesperson? You give them an order. That's how you get rid of a salesperson. You order something and they go away miraculously. So understand that to sell is human. I recommend you read the book by Daniel Pink called To Sell is Human. Okay, so it will demystify a lot of things that you think about in sales. Now, I've been in sales since I was probably 15 or 16. I've been talking since I exited my mother's womb. As a matter of fact, I think in the sonogram, I was actually talking inside her womb. But I'm an extrovert. I am a social person. I like being around people. I don't like being alone. I enjoy conversations, and I enjoy interacting with people, and I enjoy observing people and the whole psychological game. The funny part is that I'm also a technical side. And I have two, like I'm always fighting between my right brain and my left brain. I tend to be more on the right side of my brain, right brain, than I am left brained. But I'm not completely creative where I'm totally right brain. So I'm kind of in the middle, which is kind of odd because most people are either, left brain, right brain, and then a mix of. And on that spectrum, let's say I'm on a scale of 1 to 100, I probably would say I'm a 60-40. I'm probably more extroverted than I am technical. So I don't make the world's greatest technician, and I don't make the world's greatest salesperson either. I'm kind of in the middle on that area. So I am not one of those hard-selling guys. I'm more of a consultative sales guy. I like consulting people. I like finding out what the problem is because by nature I'm a troubleshooter. So all of these psychological personality spectrums play a role in how successful you're going to be as a salesperson and how a manager or a company owner will utilize you best based on those capabilities. I had one guy that was a technician. He was likable. He wasn't a total left brain. He was a great technician. He was doing roofing before. But he says, I'm terrible at sales. I used to tell me, I'm terrible at sales. Okay? I actually repel people. And he would tell me that. So I did a test with him. I have a client who has a gas station. And I took a table. And I said, look, you don't have to tell them anything. You're going to stand behind this table and you're just going to hand people cards as they walk by you. You don't have to say a word. It wasn't an hour later that a customer was calling and says, hey, I was just at the table where your guy was handing out flyers. And he called me. To this day, this has been now, he's been my client for about 12 years now. So look at how much value I got from putting that guy in an hour at a table. The sales effort on his part to just be willing to hand out those flyers without talking to anybody has produced for me probably about $13,000 or $14,000 from that client over the lifetime of that client. So there are many ways that but I recommend read that book, To Sell is Human by Daniel Pink. And I want you to, you've heard of the ABCs of sales. Always be closing. I want to turn that and I want to give you the ABCs of service. Always be caring. The ABCs, always be caring. If you are a caring person, people do not care how much you know. They only care, they only care, people don't care how much you know. They only know how much you care, okay? When you're caring about what's important to them, their family, their pets, their property, if you're doing lawn and ornamental, their plants. When you care about what's important to them, then people will listen to you and respect you. Your job is not to be a salesperson, but to be a trusted expert. And a lot of the time what I see when I get the call, your technician was here, but I don't think he understood me. I don't think he heard me. I just want to make sure. Because they originally spoke to me on the phone and I was the expert that they called. I was the guy who picked up that phone and started to decline and asking all these questions, and my technicians aren't extroverted. They're technicians. They're more introverted. They're kind of young. They've been all of my technicians. I talk all the time about the issue of how we're dealing with millennials and how we're dealing with Generation Z. All I've hired is Generation Z in the last 4 to 5 years, and millennials. I'm not hiring any boomers or Gen Xers. Um, I hire the youngest generation. I know how to deal with them, but I've been a youth minister and dealing with youth for 20 something years. I kind of understand them. And most people think, well, all the, the stuff that I post about this and that, most of the time I post it to get your reaction, to see what you really think. I put a thermometer in the audience to figure out, I'm running out of gas, where everybody's at, and knowing where the hot buttons and the hot points are. I'm like a guy who can always find that nerve. So understand that if you're a caring person, you're young, you're introverted, I am that guy who will survive in any organization and thrive, because I enjoy being thrown at the deep end of the pool with no lifesaver and I don't know how to swim. I enjoy being in that environment. I thrive in that environment. The problem that you have with most people in this generation is that you have to have a training program for everything lined up, because if they feel uncomfortable, they're quitting. The reason I will thrive no matter what organization I go in, and I've gone in, is because I am quite the opposite. That's my DNA. That's how I'm wired. I'm outspoken. I'm charismatic. I have a great smile. I'm good looking. But this might not be you, and you got to work at it a little bit. But if you're caring, if you can show genuine care, you will win that customer over, even if you're an introvert. Because everyone wants to feel important. Everybody wants to feel cared for. So always be caring. Selling comes down to this simple thing. You believe in yourself. You believe in your product, your service, your training, your support. You believe in the brand. And if you believe in that, then you feel comfortable selling it to the client, because you're going to project it. When you are driving around in an old beat up truck with bad equipment and bad chemicals, 50-year-old chemicals, and they're telling you to spray everything under the sun, you don't feel very confident as a technician. But when you're driving around in a brand new truck with the latest equipment, I equip my new trucks with the latest gear. They're nice new trucks, they're clean. They get to have pride in work and in workmanship. Therefore, they feel comfortable not selling, but in their work, and try to give them the best training possible. And what happens with a lot of companies is all of the training goes into the sales force, and very little training actually goes into the technical force. The guys that actually have to pull off, they actually have to write, cash the checks that the sales mouth is running. And a lot of the time that doesn't happen. So if you're excited, listen, guys, if you're not excited about your company, the product, the service, if you would never buy it, if you wouldn't own it, and you don't believe in the company, you don't believe in the product, you don't believe in what you're doing, please listen to me. By all means, quit and go do something else. Or go work for a company you can believe in, a product you can believe in. You're doing the world and yourself a disfavor. You're robbing the customer from the best that they can get. You're robbing your company from the best that they can get. And you're robbing yourself from the best you can get. Go do something else for somebody else, somewhere else, that you can do this, that you can believe in it. But everyone can be a salesperson and in sales for their company in a different way if they have the enthusiasm. Because enthusiasm is contagious. I got people on the phone that tell me, Frank, how long you been doing this? I says, man, 15 years. And you still have that much passion when you talk about pest control. Customers who hear my passion about pest control. But I consult them, I console them, I comfort them, and you got to learn that that's what's most important. Can you comfort that mother who is afraid of the bug problem she has, or who is frustrated? I'm in the process of trying to buy a home. And I said, you're lucky you're dealing with me and you're not dealing with another spouse. I can make decisions. This is totally binary for me. This is about, I like that house. It fits my needs. I'm doing it. I don't care about the color. I can always change the color. I don't care about the flooring. I don't care. This is what I want. And she tells me, Frank, it's okay. I'm part therapist and part bartender. In this job. She's a young girl. She's a whip. She's brilliant at how to handle people. She can disarm just about anybody. This is always where I've thrived at. I disarm people. I can deal with angry people and really upset and just frustrating people, and I can calm them down and bring them down and deal with them. Not everybody can do that at all levels. It requires you to learn how to manage people. Remember, guys, we are in a people business. We're not in the pest business. We're not in the pesticide business. We're not in the product business. What you sell is yourself. Learn to sell yourself every single day. You never have a second chance to make a first impression. If you walk into the customer's house and your shirt is all out and you look ragged because, you've been just beat to death, that customer impression of you is going to be how you conduct yourself, how you greet the person at the door. You can't screw up the first impression when you're doing an initial. And this, is the customers, you're the frontline person for that company. And they're the actual first person probably that they are seeing in these days, because the days of internet, because of phone sales, nobody sees a human being. And you're the first human being they're seeing. What do they think about you? It matters what people think about you. Be on time. If you're not going to be on time, have the courtesy to contact the person and tell them you're not going to be on time. Look professional. Believe in your service. Believe that you're giving the customer the best service they can buy on the planet. You got to use humor. Be enthusiastic. Don't be so dry when you walk. I'm going to inspect your house now, and I'm going to treat it, and I'm going to let you know what I found, all right? Have a little enthusiasm. The best people that are hireable for pest control aren't people with a lot of experience. It's the people that have what are known as the soft skills. Customer service skills. People who've been in customer service. People who've been waiters and waitresses. People who've been bartenders. People that understand how to interact with people, because we can teach the technical. You can teach anyone how to mix a drink. You can teach anyone how to carry a plate. You can't teach them how to be personable and how to be likable. Waitresses have to be likable. They don't have to be clowns. They don't have to be comedians. But you see them use a little humor. They'll pay you a compliment. They understand this game. And the best thing that you can do is be yourself, sell yourself. But, if you can learn how to role play, managers, it is so vitally important that you role play with people, that you sit down and you say, listen, you coach, you had this problem, you had this is how you deal with it. Coaching and training is constant. It isn't I send him to sales training and now he's supposed to come back and implement all this. Most sales training, there is no really good sales training to help technicians who are introverts and left brain to be better at it. All the sales training is for salespeople, for large organizations, for management. So communication is going to be vital in your role as the frontline person. You need to be able to ask good questions, but you also need to have the patience to listen actively. A lot of the times, the technician doesn't want to listen to the customer because they look down on the customer as the customer is stupid. The customer doesn't understand pest. He doesn't understand entomology. He doesn't understand chemistry. The customer is not supposed to understand this. That's your job. And what's sad is that neither do a lot of people in this industry. You know, as a Bible-believing Christian, Jesus teaches us to become a servant of all. That doesn't mean that you can serve everyone that has a need. What that means is that you have a servant heart, a position to want to serve people. And that no matter if they are wealthy or they're poor, you don't treat them any differently in the service end to serve them, but you don't either look down on them or look up to them. You basically look people in the eye, you understand, try to understand where they're at, have empathy of how they're feeling. Watch your body language. Your body language speaks more about, you know, if you're looking at the watch, the person is talking to you, you're looking at the window, you're not interested in what they have to say, then you're going to lose that person, and you're not focusing on them and their problem at the time. So selling yourself has to do with that type of communication. Communication can be very simple. You know, you come in and you're like, tell me about the situation you're having, how long. Believe it or not, you get an enormous amount of intel out of a customer that you allow them to explain, because if you've got an American roach problem, she tells you that just started a week ago, and you're seeing nymphs all over the place, that didn't start a week ago. The customer will be telling you, oh, I've been dealing with this. For the last 3 companies have come through here, nobody's been able to control it. You're getting an enormous amount of intel. Be interested in the other person. You know, you want to be interested in them, because then that makes them feel like you care. And caring is the most important thing. Always be caring. So be, explain things to them in simple terms that they can understand it. It doesn't mean you're dumbing it down for them. You're explaining it in communication with the way they can understand. Be honest. Don't tell the client, oh, you know, this is going to be solved very quickly with one spray, leave the house, and the customer's calling back 3 days later saying, you know, the technician was out here, sprayed the house, and I still have roaches. Because you're afraid that you're going to lose the sale. Tell the client, look, this is the life cycle of this roach. Chances are they're going to hatch. When they hatch, in the next 30 days, we can expect these many nymphs walking around. As a matter of fact, it should probably be about 80-20. If you explain to them what they're going to expect, expectation is everything. Then when it happens, you're not deceitful. When it happens, they're like, wow, you know how many customers told me, Frank, it happened just the way you told me. It was amazing. I didn't get a call back from that customer when eggs started hatching and all these nymphs started popping all over the place, because I handled it in the sales process. The sales process is not about you be pushy. It's about you explaining to the client what the service is going to be like, what they can expect, what you're going to do. So I tell them, hey, listen, we're going to wait 30 days on this. We're going to wait a week This is why we're doing it in a week. This is why we're doing it in 30 days. This is why we're doing it this way. And when you explain it to the client and you're honest and transparent about the experience, the client appreciates it. It might not be what they wanted to hear, but you don't know how many times I get, this is so refreshing, Frank, that you're actually telling me the truth. I've called 5 companies. Nobody will talk to me. They just want to send me a sales guy over. They want to send somebody to inspect. And, you know, most clients today, they want to handle everything over text. They want to handle everything over an email. They want to do it over the phone. They don't want to be pressured. They know when you send a sales guy over, he's going to pressure them for a contract. They don't want to. So you don't have to be that way. You don't have to do that to be successful in sales. You know, sell yourself, be honest, be transparent. Sell your brand. Like I said, guys, if you can't sell the brand, what is the brand? Brand is not a logo. Brand is the feeling people get when they see your brand or your brand comes to their mind. It's all about emotions. When everything is said and done, the only thing that's going to matter in the marketplace really is brand and brand loyalty, because of what that brand represents. And you're a representative of the brand. You're a brand evangelist. When you're out there in that vehicle wearing the uniform in a customer's home, you're a brand evangelist. How you drive, how you look, how you conduct yourself, it speaks more about the brand than anything you could have told that customer. So we are selling, understand that we are selling the intangible. Nobody can see the result until after the service, after you've done it, after the experience with you, after the experience with the CSR, after the experience with the salesperson, after the experience with the technician. Until all is said and done, that experience is what's going to determine how people feel about the brand. So, tell the person what you found. Tell them how you solved it. And tell them what they can expect. It is so vitally important. You have no idea how vitally important this is as a salesperson if you're a technician in sales, because what you're selling is the result and how people feel about it and what they're going to expect. That's what you're selling as a technician. Remember, everyone is selling something. You're selling yourself, you're selling what the brand represents, and the result. Always, always, I tell the guys, look, I already told the client this, guys. You have to tell them in the room. You're the expert on site. If they heard it from me, and then they hear the same thing from you, they're at ease and say, well, the sales guy told me that, and you're telling me that, so I'm going to believe you. And now I'm going to buy into the idea. And when they buy into the idea, that eliminates that phone call. That eliminates that complaint. That eliminates the bad reviews. If you decide that you want, if your company incentivizes sales and pays a commission for sales, and they, you know, you're getting something extra for making a sale, then you need to learn to sell ethically. Remember, it comes down to believing in yourself, believing in your product, believing in your capabilities. A lot of the guys do not sell because they have a lot of self-limiting beliefs. What you believe up here, how a man thinks in his heart, so is he. If you think that you're the best technician, that you're successful, you will act successful. If you think you're a failure, and you're a failure as a person, and you're a failure as an employee, and you're a failure as a husband, and you're a failure as a father, you act like a failure. And you do things that sabotage your success. You become a self-fulfilling prophecy. So in order to sell ethically, you need to be a true inspector. not a chemical applicator. If you're not trying to find a legitimate problem that the customer has, that the customer did not know about, understand that people don't know they need something until you show it to them. Nobody ever needed an iPhone until, Jobs showed us an iPhone. We never knew we needed one. Now we can't live without it. So, does the customer have a genuine need? If he does, do you have the solution? If you have a genuine solution, why aren't you offering it to that client? Because I don't want to come across as pushy. Here's what you do. It's very simple. Listen, Mr. Customer, I found this. I just wanted to put it out there and let you know that we provide this service. If you want it, I can either have our office call you, or a salesperson call you, or somebody call you. You just sold it. Can you split the commission? Can you get something for that lead? I don't want to close it. I don't want to write up the paperwork because that's too time consuming. I don't have the time for that. Do me a favor. As a matter of fact, are you interested in? Yeah, I am. Hold on a second. Give me your phone. Let me dial up. Hey, Janet, there's a person here that wants to buy this service. Can you please talk to them? Thank you. And you're off the hook. So, can the actual service prevent a problem in the future, especially when it comes to termites? Can it prevent it in the future? Can you help that family prevent genuinely a serious cost and damage to their home by pointing it out to them? Listen, we don't sell termite services. My technicians are trained to look at drywood termite because I don't have a whole lot of subterranean right now down here that we found, but we can easily see drywood termite problems. So he says, hey Frank, I think this person may have termites. He doesn't sell them termite. He doesn't say they have termites. He says, I think they might have termites. I says, bring me a sample. Show me a picture. Yes, here is the name of so-and-so. He can help you with this. And we refer it. We don't enter into that conversation with that client. We don't sell termite. But I just helped a friend who does termite make more money. In a lot of these cases, I get a commission. Can you share it? Can you say, every time you get a termite job, bro, it's going to be $50 if we sell it. If that guy sells it and it gives me 100 and you found it, I'll give you $50. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. When the customer asks, when do you sell the customer? When the customer asks for a professional recommendation. The customer is saying, Frank, I have a mosquito problem. Can you solve that for me? Absolutely. Or absolutely not. We don't do that. This is the way that you can sell ethically to the client, but it's about you. It's about selling yourself. It's about believing in your product, believing in the brand, believing that you have a genuine solution for that client, that it is going to be the best thing for them when they own it, when they have it. Stop with the self-limiting beliefs. Stop with the, I don't want to sell them because I don't want to be pushy. It is not for you to decide if they need it or not. It is for you to find out if the customer has a genuine need and then offer it. Let them turn it down. What happens with a lot of people is they don't know how to handle rejection. And they feel that the customer is rejecting them, their idea. It's like when you tell your boss you have a great idea, he says, yeah, not right now, we're not going to do that. It's timing. He's not ready for that. He's got 5,000 other things. It isn't that you're less important. Keep that and come back to him in a couple of months when the timing is right, when he's had a couple of beers, you guys are out celebrating, whatever, hit him up when he's had a couple of beers. He's probably in a different mindset to buy the idea. I have a lot of testimonies of guys that have listened to me and they've pitched the idea to their bosses and their bosses bought it. Look, I'm in the sales game. I'm trying to convince you that IPM is better than spray and pray every day. I'm selling people on the idea that eco-friendly and holistic pest management is better than the traditional spray. This is my business. This is what I'm trying to convince people of. Why? Because I believe in it, because I've done it. I am 100% sold on it. That exclusion is just as good as chemical. Actually better. Because if I can exclude the pest, I never have to apply an ounce of chemical to solve it. Yeah, but then the customer will not hire us and he'll leave us because, no, there's always going to be something else that he needs. But it's the customer experience of how that customer feels about what they bought from you and how it makes them feel. And your job should be to make people feel good about what it is that you're doing. I hope this helps you guys. This is Frank the Pest Geek wishing you a pestacular day.